Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you tonight. The passage that I'm going to be talking from is Psalm chapter 23, verses 1 through 4. And I think it's one that you'll find familiar. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not be in want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in paths of righteousness for His name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Does anyone here like to go to the zoo? I love going to the zoo, man. I think it's awesome to see all those wild animals. I love seeing lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. If you don't know what that reference is to, you need to watch The Wizard of Oz. And don't ask me what The Wizard of Oz is. Anyway, I love seeing all of those wild animals, and I start thinking about what it would be like to see them in their natural habitat. But I don't think about that for very long until I realize just how glad I am that there's those big iron bars between me and those predators. But you know what my favorite part of the zoo is? Yeah, the petting zoo. I think it's awesome to go in there and pet all those cute little animals, and I'm secure enough in my masculinity to tell you so. That's right. Is there anything cuter than having a little lamb eating out of the palm of your hand? Well, one time I went to the zoo with a friend who was a farmer, and he said, you know, it's a well-known fact that sheep are some of the dumbest animals on earth. Huh. I didn't know this well-known fact. But I got to thinking, if the Lord is my shepherd, that makes me a sheep. And if I'm a sheep, yeah, then that makes me one of the dumbest animals on earth. You see, it was the shepherd's job to protect the sheep from all the dangerous situations they got themselves into because of their stupidity. In Psalm 23, we're shown three major situations that our wonderful shepherd protects us from: what we consume, where we wander, and the things that life throws at us. First, our shepherd makes us lie down in green pastures. You see, sheep have a tendency to just consume whatever's around them when they begin to get hungry. If they were in fields of weeds and brambles and they got hungry, they'd just start chowing down. And of course, weeds and brambles aren't very good things to eat. So they would eat that stuff, and then it would end up causing intense intestinal distress. Similarly, if we're not following the lead of our shepherd, we might decide we're hungry and just start consuming whatever's around us. We might let ideas, people, images into our lives that we shouldn't. And of course, when we do this, we end up feeling sick to our stomachs. In our sheep-like stupidity, we consume things that the shepherd never intended for us to consume, and we make ourselves ill in the process. That is why the shepherd is so careful to make us lie down in green pastures. That way, when it's time to eat, we don't have to trust our sheep brains to know what to eat, because it'll all be good. Secondly, our shepherd is also sure to make us, to lead us to quiet waters. Again, sheep with their simple brains, when they decide they're thirsty, they'll wander to whatever water source is around and try to drink from it. To the sheep, it doesn't matter if it's a rushing river or a big waterfall, they're going to give it a shot. Now, I bet you can imagine a sheep trying to drink from a waterfall. Here comes Billy Bob the sheep. Bah, 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 bah. There he goes. It's kind of a funny image. But again, aren't we similar to sheep in this manner sometimes? Don't we sometimes make decisions in life to pursue something which looks appealing, but in the end has dire consequences? Don't we sometimes get so focused on how good that water is going to taste that we miss the fact that it's rushing much too fast towards the falls? And usually, it's not until we're being sucked under and heading towards the edge that we realize there's a problem. But of course, our great shepherd understands this tendency, so he takes great care to lead us beside still and quiet waters which will quench our thirst, but not endanger our well-being. When following his lead, we don't have to try and judge for ourselves whether the water is satisfying or deadly. At the end of the passage I read, it finds us poor sheep wandering through the valley. But not just any valley, the valley of the shadow of death. Now just say that to yourself. Valley of the shadow of death. Doesn't it just send a shiver down your spine? Imagine the darkest, most treacherous valley you can, filled with all manner of bloodthirsty creatures just lying in wait, waiting to tear apart an unsuspecting sheep. Doesn't life feel like that sometimes? Now how do you think us sheep, who can't even figure out what grass to eat and what water to drink, are going to make it through the valley of the shadow of death? If we were trying to navigate through such horrifying circumstances on our own, it would be a bad situation. Fortunately, we have our shepherd there to guide us and take care of us with his rod and his staff. The rod was used to fight off those bloodthirsty animals. If anything would threaten the flock, we just let out that bleat of terror, and our shepherd comes and he'll beat that animal until it leaves the flock alone. Thus we can take comfort excuse me, in the protection that the rod of the shepherd gives to us. The staff, on the other hand, was not used on other creatures, but on the sheep themselves. Sometimes when trying to make our way through the valley of the shadow of death, we begin to wander off the path. The shepherd uses his staff to gently ensure that we get back on the right direction. In fact, sometimes he might even use it not so gently. But it's all in the name of making us get back to the place where we belong. In conclusion, therefore, when traveling through the valley of the shadow of death, we have nothing to fear because the shepherd will protect and guide us. And if he can shepherd us dumb little sheep through the valley of the shadow of death, don't you think he can guide us through life's circumstances? Notice that the passage does not say that he's going to guide us around the valley of the shadow of death, or never let us get near the valley of the shadow of death. No, just that he'll guide us through. Life is scary sometimes. There's no denying it. Sometimes we find ourselves in circumstances and we can't figure out how to get out of the valley. And if left to our own devices, we would probably never escape. But we have a great shepherd who does not let us consume things that are bad for us. He doesn't let us wander into dangerous situations. And he protects us from all the things that life throws at us. And in the end, he'll lead us back to those green pastures and those quiet waters. Thanks.